My boyfriend locked me in the car for 2 hours during his ex's birthday dinner and told me you'd ruin the vibe. When I showed up anyway, he whispered, "You weren't invited." I smiled and said, "Neither was the $300 necklace you bought her with my credit card." My name's Mira Langston. I'm 42, and until last November, I thought I had a pretty decent handle on life. Not perfect, no one's life is perfect, but stable. I live in Austin, work full-time as a senior property manager, raise a 16-year-old daughter named Callie who's recently discovered 90s grunge and horror podcasts, and deal with my ex-husband, Devin, who pops in just enough to say he's still present. Which, in Devin speak, means he remembers birthdays and sends the occasional Venmo for school supplies. I've always been independent, not because I wanted to be, but because life sort of forced me into it. When Devin left, Callie was 9, and I had to learn how to fix a leaky faucet, navigate divorce court, and figure out what the hell TikTok was, all in the same year. But things got easier. We found a rhythm. I stopped waking up every morning with that tight, anxious feeling in my chest. I even started laughing again, mostly thanks to wine nights with my neighbor Tanya and the occasional bad rom-com, and then I met Lars. I met him on a Tuesday night at this tiny wine bar on East 6th, one of those hipster places with reclaimed wood walls and menus printed on recycled napkins. I wasn't even planning to go out, but Tanya dragged me there after a long day dealing with a busted pipe at one of the downtown high-rises. I remember I was still wearing my work polo shirt and hadn't even bothered with mascara. But he noticed me. He had this grin, wide, slightly crooked, with just enough confidence to be charming and not arrogant. We talked about stupid things, parking in Austin, how nobody really likes kombucha, how the bar's playlist sounded like it came from someone's garage band in 2002. We laughed. A lot. He was funny in a dry, sarcastic kind of way, and after so long feeling invisible, I soaked it in. After our third date, he cooked me dinner. After the fifth, he met Callie. After the seventh, I let myself think maybe this could be something. And it was, for a while. He'd text me good morning. He remembered the little things, like how I always needed coffee before conversation, or how I get anxious when someone drives too fast. He made Callie laugh, which almost no man had managed since Devin left. It felt nice, easy. But like most stories that seemed too good to be true, the cracks started to show. It was subtle at first. He'd make comments about how I was too stressed all the time, or joke about how I always had to be in control. Sometimes I'd mention going out with Tanya and he'd ask again. Not in a jealous way, just undermining. Quietly. Like a whisper brushing up against my spine. Then there were the little lies. Not big ones, not yet. But things didn't add up. Receipts that disappeared. Text messages he'd hide when I walked into the room. A sudden interest in going offline more often. Still, I stayed. Because I'd invested time, trust, and hope, and I wasn't ready to believe I'd gotten it wrong again. Then came Jessamine. Her name came up in conversation maybe 3 or 4 times, always casually. Yeah, Jessamine used to love that movie. Or, I went to this place with Jess once, it was overpriced. I asked once if they were still in touch. Here and there, he said. She's not a big deal. She became a very big deal the night he locked me in his car outside Juniper, a trendy upscale restaurant in East Austin, under the pretense of just saying hi to her for her birthday. That Saturday had started normally. Lars had mentioned he had something planned for us. Something light, he said. You'll like it. Wear a dress. So I did. I wore a navy blue wrap dress, the one that always makes me feel like I've got my life together, and a pair of dangly earrings I'd picked up at a flea market in San Marcos the month before. I even curled my hair, which I never do unless it's a special occasion. I felt hopeful. When he picked me up, he was in a weird mood, distracted, twitchy almost. I figured he was just tired. He worked in cybersecurity and often had late nights staring at screens, tweaking firewalls, or whatever it is he did. We were about 20 minutes into the drive when he cleared his throat. Hey, small detour. Jessamine's having a birthday thing. Just thought I'd swing by, say hi real quick. I blinked. Jessamine? He glanced over like I'd asked about the weather. Yeah, Jess. My ex. We're still friends. It's not a big deal. There was something about the way he said it, overly calm, too casual. I kept my voice even. So, am I coming in with you? He paused. Too long. That was always Lars' tell. I think it'd be weird, he said finally. She doesn't know I'm bringing anyone. Weird. I repeated. Why would it be weird for your girlfriend to show up with you? He pulled up in front of Juniper, white tablecloths, twinkling lights, valet parking. Definitely not drop in for a drink vibes. Just wait here, he said. I'll be quick. Before I could protest, he leaned over and hit the lock button on my door. Then he got out and walked away. I sat there stunned. Then I tried the door handle locked. Tried the passenger side, locked too. I pulled out my phone and texted him. Me, are you serious right now? Nothing. Me, you locked me in the car? Still nothing. I tried calling. Voicemail. I sat in that car for 2 hours. The sun had started to set, the air inside got warmer, and I watched couples walk into that restaurant laughing, dressed in linen and silk and heels. I could see Lars through the window at one point laughing. Toasting. Looking like he didn't have a single thought about the woman he left outside. I didn't cry. I was too stunned. Too embarrassed. Too stuck in disbelief that a grown man would do that, would literally lock me away like I was an afterthought. At 8:41, he finally came back. I heard the car beep as he unlocked it. He slid into the driver's seat, completely unfazed. You're still here, he said, almost surprised. You thought I'd leave? He shrugged. Didn't know what you'd do. The drive back was mostly quiet, except for him saying the food was overpriced and that Jessamine wasn't as fun as she used to be. I didn't say a word. But the next morning, while checking my credit card activity online, I saw it, a charge from Kendra Scott. $312.49. 2 days before Jessamine's birthday. I blinked. At first, I thought maybe he was planning to surprise me. Maybe he got me something early and forgot to mention it. But when I opened my jewelry drawer, everything was the same. I called the store. They told me the necklace was picked up in person. By someone named Lars. I waited until he came over that evening. Made coffee. Sat him down. Did you use my card? I asked calmly. He furrowed his brow. What? There's a charge. Kendra Scott. $300. He laughed. You probably bought something and forgot. You've been all over the place lately. I stared at him. I didn't forget. I called. They said it was picked up in person. By you. His face didn't change, but I saw the flicker. That flash of oh shit behind his eyes. She's been going through a hard time, he said finally. It was just a nice gesture. And I'm your girlfriend, I said slowly. You bought your ex a necklace. With my money. Then locked me in the car while you gave it to her. He didn't apologize. He didn't even flinch. He just said, you weren't invited. Those 3 words rewired something in me. Snapped something clean in half. After that night, I didn't see Lars for a few days. He sent a couple of texts, can we talk? And let's not let one moment ruin everything, like this was some kind of misunderstanding, not a betrayal wrapped in entitlement. I didn't answer him. I couldn't. Instead, I found myself staring blankly at my kitchen counter, turning over the credit card bill in my hand, trying to make sense of how I got here. How I let someone convince me, slowly and steadily, that I was overreacting when I was really just reacting to truth. The next Friday, I sat in my car after work and scrolled through his laptop, the one he'd left at my house, by accident, a few days before. I hadn't meant to snoop, honestly. But when I opened it to check the weather, force of habit, it blinked to life and went straight to his open messages. A group chat. 5 people. One of them was Jessamine. Jessamine. Looking forward to round 2. This time I'm not taking shots with Michelle. LMAO. Lars. Face with tears of joy you earned that necklace. Can't wait. Another guy. Ayo Lars, you bringing that cougar again? Lars. Nah, LOL. Don't need drama. Cougar. That word hit me like ice water. They thought I was some older woman Lars was just entertaining. A placeholder. A woman to mock. I clicked through the messages, my face getting hotter with every scroll. Pictures from that birthday dinner. One of Jessamine leaning against Lars with the necklace glittering on her collarbone, the same one I paid for. Another of them laughing, wine glasses in hand, looking like a couple. I closed the laptop and sat in silence. Even the hum of the fridge behind me felt too loud. My hands were shaking, not from sadness, but from something heavier, rage, maybe. Or the bitter taste of realization. I wasn't mad that Lars had an ex. I wasn't even mad that they were friendly. But I was livid that he made me feel like I was the problem for not being okay with the secrecy. The lies. The disrespect. The final nail came Sunday night. Tanya was over, sitting at my kitchen table with her feet tucked under her and a glass of Malbec in hand. I told her everything. She didn't say anything for a long time. Just stared at me. Finally she said, you know he's not gonna stop, right? He's the type who's only sorry when he gets caught. And he barely even did that. I know, I said. So what are you gonna do? I exhaled slowly. She's throwing another birthday thing. A post-party at her place in Travis Heights. I saw it in the group chat. Tanya raised her eyebrows. You thinking of crashing? Thinking about it? I already bought the wine. Tanya grinned. Now that's my girl. So, that's how I ended up at Jessamyn's place the next night, wearing the same wrap dress he saw me in the night he locked me in the car. Only this time, I added red lipstick and a scarf Callie said made me look like a hot French art teacher. I showed up unannounced, like a polite hurricane. Knocked on the door and waited. Jessamyn opened it. She was pretty, in that curated Instagram kind of way. Blonde, skinny, two perfect eyebrows. She gave me a once-over and tilted her head slightly. Hi, I said with a smile. I'm Mira, Lars' girlfriend. Her eyes widened, just slightly. Oh, right. I didn't know you were coming. I finished. Yeah, I know. She looked past me, maybe hoping Lars would appear and smooth it over. But I stepped inside before she could say anything else. The room was full of people laughing, drinking, lounging on her white leather couches like they lived there. Lars was near the window, red cup in hand, deep in conversation with some guy in a vintage U t-shirt. He turned around, and for a second, just a flash, he looked genuinely afraid. I walked straight up to him, handed him the bottle of wine like it was a gift, and leaned in. Hi, babe, I said, loud enough for the nearby crowd to hear. Surprise. He blinked. Mira, what are you doing here? I figured since you locked me in a car last time, I'd take the initiative. Laughter nearby stopped. A couple of heads turned. He forced a smile, tugging me gently by the arm toward the hallway. Can we not do this here? Oh no, we're definitely doing this here, I said, jerking my arm back. I stepped toward Jessamyn, who was now watching from the kitchen, frozen. You know he used my credit card to buy you that necklace? She blinked. What? Yeah, I said. You're wearing it right now. I bought it. Well, technically he did with my money. The room went uncomfortably quiet. Someone coughed. Lars looked like he was about to melt into the floor. That's not, he started. Don't lie, I snapped, turning to him. I called the store. They told me everything. You picked it up. You used my card. Then locked me in a car while you played sugar daddy. Jessamyn reached for the clasp of the necklace, her face pale. I didn't know. Of course not. Because he doesn't tell women things. He lets them find out the hard way. Lars's voice finally rose. Mira, you're making a scene. I laughed. It wasn't cute. Oh, sweetheart. This isn't a scene. This is a lesson. He tried to say something else, but I was already walking out the door, head high, dignity intact, the sound of whispers and dropped jaws following me out like an applause. When I got in my car, my hands were shaking again. But this time it wasn't rage. It wasn't embarrassment. It was relief. Pure, unfiltered relief. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. I didn't sleep much, maybe 3 hours tops. My body was tired, but my mind was wired, like it had spent all night running marathons through every conversation, every red flag I ignored, every moment I tried to justify a man who saw me as convenient. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my chipped toenail polish and thinking about how ridiculous it all was. How I let myself become an accessory in someone else's story. And worse, how I funded it. Callie walked in without knocking, holding a half-eaten banana and her phone. Okay, what did you do? I looked up. Good morning to you, too. No, seriously. I just saw Lars post some vague-ass story on Instagram about learning who really supports you when things get tough. I scoffed. Of course he did. Callie sat beside me. You finally dumped him? I gave her a look. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You're wearing that face. What face? The one you had when you quit that HOA board after the raccoon incident. I laughed. A real one, the kind that felt like it came from my gut and not just the surface. God, I needed that laugh. I guess I did, I said quietly. I mean, I didn't exactly dump him. I just told the truth. Loudly. In public. In front of Jessamyn and all her little friends. Callie grinned. Was it dramatic? I nodded. Very. Nice. We sat there a moment. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and I reached over to run my fingers through her messy curls. Her hair always smelled like coconut shampoo and teenage angst. You know, she said softly, I never really liked him. I didn't answer right away. It hit harder than I expected. Why didn't you tell me? She shrugged. You looked happy. Or, like, something close to it. After Dad, I figured you deserved someone, even if he was kind of slippery. Slippery. That was generous. I wanted to be happy, I admitted. I really thought maybe this time I picked someone better. Callie nodded slowly. You will. Eventually. Sometimes I forget how grown she is. Not just tall or opinionated, truly grown in the way she sees people. She's been watching me rebuild for years. She's had a front row seat to my heartbreaks and little victories. She's seen the behind-the-scenes mess I never let anyone else see. I hugged her tight. Then, after she left for school, I called in sick. I couldn't face the office, the broken copy machine, the endless tenant complaints, my boss Rick who still can't figure out how to forward an email. I just needed a day. One day to sit with everything and decide what the hell came next. By noon, Tanya was knocking on my door. I brought breakfast tacos and backup wine, she announced, holding a paper bag in one hand and a bottle of Pinot in the other. It's not even noon. I said what I said. She plopped onto my couch, kicked off her sandals, and handed me a taco. So, you really did it. You nuked Lars in front of his little friend circle. He deserved it. Oh, babe, he deserved worse. I chewed slowly. My appetite still hadn't come back fully, but I forced it. I needed fuel if I was going to rebuild from the emotional wreckage. Do you think I was stupid? I asked her. For not seeing it sooner? Tanya didn't even hesitate. No, you were hopeful. There's a difference. Stupid is pretending your gut doesn't scream at you. You? You listened. Eventually. Too late, though. No such thing, she said. You got out. You kept your dignity. And you hit him where it hurts, his ego. That made me smirk. Still, I couldn't shake the heaviness. That feeling of being emotionally pickpocket. He hadn't just taken my money, he'd taken my faith in something good. Something kind. I feel gross, I said. Like I let someone walk all over me, and I didn't even realize until the heel of their boot was on my neck. That's what people like Lars do. They're smooth. They make you second guess what you know. Gaslighting isn't always loud. Sometimes it's wrapped in charm and sweet gestures. But it's still manipulation. I nodded slowly. She was right. I knew it. But it still felt like swallowing a mouthful of sand. The worst part? Part of me still wanted him to text. Still wanted him to say something, anything, that made it make sense. That's how deep it goes. The hope. The denial. The tiny part of you still rooting for the lie. I spent the rest of the afternoon deep cleaning. Tanya eventually left after swearing she'd check in that evening. I blasted old Alanis Morissette songs, scrubbed my kitchen grout, threw out the snacks Lars liked but I didn't, and even cleaned the top of the fridge, the universal sign of a woman scorned. By sunset, I was emotionally spent. Then my phone pinged. Lars, you could have just talked to me. I stared at the screen, heart thudding in my chest like it didn't know what team it was on. Me, I did. Repeatedly. You just didn't listen. Lars, you humiliated me. Me, good. Now we're even. There was a long pause. I could imagine him sitting wherever he was, in his sad, overpriced apartment, pouring himself a glass of whiskey, stewing in the fact that for once, the woman he underestimated had snapped back. He finally replied, Lars, I messed up. I'm sorry. Can we just talk? I stared at the words. My thumb hovered over the screen. But I didn't type. I didn't reply. I just locked the phone and walked outside, barefoot, into my backyard where the string lights were still up from Callie's birthday last month. I stood under them and let the silence swallow me. Because sometimes not answering is the most powerful thing you can say. Lars didn't take silence well. Over the next few days, he texted more. Not a flood, Lars was too calculated for that. He staggered them out like little breadcrumbs, trying to lure me back into the woods. I didn't mean for it to go that far. You've taken this too personally. Let's talk like adults. You're throwing away something good. I didn't respond. He even left a voice message. I didn't listen to it. I didn't need to. I knew what it would say, half apologies laced with self-pity, veiled guilt trips, and enough sugar to mask the manipulation. I'd seen that movie before. What he didn't know, what he never thought to ask, was just how much I remembered. How much I saved. Because while he was smooth-talking his way through Jessamyn's party, I had already forwarded every questionable transaction from my credit card to a spreadsheet. Dates, amounts, descriptions, including that $312 necklace and a few other little charges I hadn't noticed before, one from a boutique hotel in San Antonio, another from a spa in Lakeway. He'd gotten comfortable. Sloppy. I also still had his laptop, the one he left at my house. I didn't go full scorched earth. I'm not that woman. But I did do 3 very intentional things. First, I called my credit card company and reported all the unauthorized charges. Fraud protection kicked in, and within 2 weeks, every dime was refunded. That included the necklace, the hotel, the spa, and even a pair of golf shoes he'd apparently splurged on. They flagged his name and issued me a new card. Clean slate. Second, I packaged up his laptop, printed out a list of every charge he made on my card, and wrote a single note. You left this. I didn't. Then I dropped it off at his building with the front desk. The third thing? That was the cherry on top. See, Lars worked freelance cybersecurity gigs for small businesses, mostly restaurants and boutique brands. I happen to know that Jessamine's sister, Marley, owned a trendy cocktail bar in downtown Austin. The same one Lars always bragged about rebuilding their PS system. He also bragged that they paid him under the table, which normally I wouldn't care about, but Lars had a bad habit of using people's logins and browsing their emails for dirt. It was one of those jokes he told me once, not realizing I was actually listening. So I sent Marley an anonymous email. Simple, professional, no threats. Just a friendly heads up that their systems might have been compromised, and that Lars had a reputation for accessing personal data on the back end, particularly from female staff members. I attached screenshots from his own laptop. Whether it was true or not didn't matter. The implication was enough. 3 days later, Marley emailed back. She thanked me, said she'd be reviewing everything internally and consulting her legal team. A week after that, Tanya ran into Lars downtown. He looked like hell, unshaved, slouching, alone. She texted me a blurry photo of him standing outside some cafe, scrolling through his phone with a look that screamed lost. Then she added, "Congratulations. You just Lars-proofed your whole future." But the real closure didn't come from revenge. It came 2 weeks later when I got a handwritten card in the mail. It was from Jessamine. The front said, "For what it's worth," in cursive gold foil. Inside, she wrote, "Mira, I had no idea. Not about the credit card, or the lies, or the way he treated you. He told me you were dramatic and clingy, that you were controlling and didn't support him. I believed him, and I'm sorry. That night, after you left, I took the necklace off. It didn't feel like a gift anymore, it felt like a receipt. Thank you for the truth. I hope you never let someone dim you like that again." Jessamine, I read it 3 times. Then I folded it up and put it in the drawer where I keep spare batteries and warranty manuals, not because I needed to read it again, but because it reminded me, sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's just about being seen, about reclaiming the narrative, about planting a seed that makes someone else realize they deserve better, too. Lars never messaged me again. I blocked his number, removed his contact, and scrubbed him from my digital orbit like mold from tile. He became a lesson, not a scar. Callie noticed the change almost instantly. "You look taller," she said one day after school. Not like physically. Just, "You're taking up space again." She was right. I started sleeping deeper, laughing easier, wearing lipstick on Wednesdays just because. I even rejoined the HOA board, raccoons be damned, and convinced the president to let me host our next meeting in my backyard under the string lights. A month after the party, I ran into one of Lars's old friends at a farmer's market, a guy named Nico who'd always been nice to me. He looked awkward, like he wasn't sure if I'd curse him out or ignore him. Instead, I smiled. He relaxed. "Hey, just wanted to say what you did. That was badass." "Thanks," I said. "I'm done apologizing for catching someone's bullshit." He laughed. Well, it caught up to him. Word got around. I don't think many people are buying what he's selling anymore. I raised an eyebrow. "Karma's faster than it used to be. Especially when the Wi-Fi's good," he said with a grin. We talked a bit. Nothing flirty, just real. Human. And when I walked away, the sun hit my face just right, and I felt whole, like I had finally stepped back into my own skin. So no, there were no slashed tires. No screaming matches or viral takedown videos. Just a woman who remembered who the hell she was. A woman who turned her pain into power, her silence into strategy, and her story into strength. And best of all, she paid for it all, with Larza's refunded charges. Poetic, don't you think?